Dr. Michael Oren, and former ambassador of Israel to the United States, former deputy minister, has been so kind with his time this week. We appreciate it, Dr. Oren. Missile sirens are sounding in the north and the south as we speak, so you're back in your bomb shelter, I see. I'm glad about that. Dr. Oren, what do you make of the so called talks in Warsaw? It seems to me it's a dead end, but what do you think?
Yeah, welcome back to the bomb shelter. We had 6 rockets go right over the house about 15 minutes ago. It's just a surreal reality. So bizarre. We're preparing lunch. All of a sudden, the 6 rockets come over. Boom, 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 boom. We can see the Iron Dome firing just to the east of here, and then we go back. We go back to work. Incredible resilience. Last night, by the way, we had a remarkable gathering at the Jaffa Hotel with Douglas Murray, and I'm sure you know
Oh,
him. He's
yes.
extraordinary. What a night we had! 1,000 people. And it just shows the resilience of this society, the resilience of this society that 1,000 people would gather in a former church, by the way, to hear Douglas and myself talk about the situation. And it was a wonderful evening. And this is how we win. We win by not letting them destroy our lives, not letting us stay within bomb shelters all the time. So it's like a
Michael, do
double
you
smile.
expect Iron Dome is up to the task of Hezbollah if they go full on attack?
No, no, I helped bring in Iron Dome. I have very proud of that accomplishment. Iron Dome has some downsides. It's a double-edged sword in many ways. It creates the disproportionality between our side and the Palestinian side. It actually helps Hamas delegitimize us in that way. And in the previous years, it made us kind of lazy. We became to depend on Iron Dome, and that was a problem. But the fact is, the estimate for the amount of rockets that Hezbollah will fire at us is something between the order of 4 and 6,000 rockets a day. Now, since the beginning of this war with Hamas, they fired about 11, 12,000 rockets at us. But we're talking about that amount in 2 days. And there's no amount of Iron Dome interceptors that can stop all of that. In which case, we have also intermediate range missiles known as David Slings that developed with the United States. We have high range and long range rockets, interceptors, Arrow 2, Arrow 3. That's also a joint Israeli and American project. Um, with that, we still will have to call on probably on the systems that are aboard the USS Eisenhower, the USS Ford. Those systems are the TAD system, the Aegis system, and the Patriot system. God knows how I know all this. Will be a great systems in taking down these rockets. At the end of the day, there's no solution, Hugh, except for our army to go into southern Lebanon. There are 130,000 Hezbollah rockets hidden under 200 Lebanese villages. You can't make this up. I've seen the pictures. You got the family rocket in the living room. This roof opens up, rocket goes off, it hits Haifa. Okay, we're going to have to send our troops. Our paratroopers are going to have to go village, village, house to house, and Hezbollah is going to want to keep those families in the houses because Hezbollah wants us to kill them, so that we'll be branded again as war criminals. That's how it works. And
Would the IDF
every
go
time.
all the way to Beirut?
No, it doesn't have to. One of our problems, we made a mistake in 2006, and I was in that war, and I remember thinking to myself, why aren't we declaring war against Lebanon? And we have a policy difference, a long-standing policy difference with democratic administrations that insist that there's such a country called Lebanon. We do not think there's a country called Lebanon. We think there's a company called Hezbollah that controls something what was once known as Lebanon, including the Lebanese army. There's no real distinction between the Lebanese army and Hezbollah. And Lebanon has been in such a crisis, profound crisis for years, that when we declare war against Lebanon and create a legal situation of status belli, which enables us to do also things against Lebanon legally, the problem is you can't bomb Lebanon back to the Stone Age because Lebanon's already in the Stone Age. You can't bomb their electricity because they don't have any electricity. And that is not I don't think is a tremendous amount of deterrence on Hezbollah. Um, my fear is, first of all, Hezbollah is firing right now. It's in the news. They're firing rockets now. They've been firing at us from day one. And so certainly we have the casus belli and the status belli with Lebanon. The big deterrence right now would really be the United States. That doesn't want to open that second front. It wants us to enter into a diplomatic process led by a very capable diplomat, Amos Hochstein, that is designed, get this, Hugh, it's designed to get Hezbollah to comply with Resolution 1701 from 2006, which Hezbollah has ignored, of course, and get it to withdraw north of the Litani River. Now, that will mean nothing for the rockets. Rockets don't care about 15 more kilometers, but it won't put, in theory, it won't put Hezbollah terrorists up against the border, because you can go to the Israeli border in the north right now. You see Hezbollah, it's right there. You can wave high and hope they don't shoot you. And and nobody, the tens of thousands of Israelis who've been moved away from that border won't go back to that border if Hezbollah is there, because they know what terrorists can do when they break through a fence. So um, I'm wary. I got to tell you honestly, I'm wary about this diplomatic process. Diplomatic processes are a little like the Hotel California, Hugh. All
Ha!
right, you can check. You know, you can check in, but you can't necessarily check out. And
Stay,
once you get
stay
into
right
that
there, Michael. I got to go to break. I want to come back and get 5 more minutes with you if I can for the
Hotel California,
podcast.
you like that? Okay.
Ambassador Michael Oren in the Hotel California. And what happened underground in Gaza yesterday? They found the South Coast Plaza Mall underground, the high end of the Maginot Line upside down. They found yesterday. They're destroying that. But no Sinwar, not yet. I want to find out from Dr. Oren how confident he is that they will find the ultimate bad guy. Stay tuned, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Welcome back. I've got Dr. Michael Oren with me. Under the heart of Gaza City, IDF digs up vast hive of layers where Hamas elite hid. That's the headline in the Times of Israel this morning, Dr. Oren. I am not surprised to find that there are two levels of tunnels. Tunnels for the guys who are running things and tunnels for the rats. What do you think is going to happen next? Is this got a month to go before they corner Sinwar, or is it so vast it's going to take 6 months?
It could be 1 month, it could be 6 months, it could be more. Talking about 300 miles of tunnels. So imagine if you wanted to hide in the New York subway system somewhere, and someone's going after you. That's what it's like. We're hunting about somebody who's hiding in the New York subway system. And these tunnels go down, dozens of feet. And I think I had written an article about the tunnels called Tunnel Vision on my Substack on Clarity, where I suggested that the obsession with tunnels is more than just a strategic or even a tactical consideration. It's something deeply psychological. It's kind of Dante-esque. It's like the ninth circle, that bespeaks the truly satanic nature uh, of Hamas. Truly, it's extraordinary. By the way, there's no national. I'm in my bomb shelter. We just heard the sirens, but there are no sirens in Gaza. There are no bomb shelters. With these vast array of tunnels that are big enough to drive a truck through, they didn't let one Palestinian civilian into those tunnels during the bombing. Not one. Does anybody call them out on that? Nah. Nah.
They are depraved. And Michael, let's conclude on this. I don't believe these talks in Warsaw are going anywhere because Israel, as I understand it, made an offer. We will stop for 2 weeks. You let 40 of our people, the old men and the rest of the women, out. And we'll stop for 2 weeks. And Hamas said, no, you have to stop the war. And Israel said, sorry, we're done here. Is that a good
Yeah.
recitation of the status?
Yeah, it's actually 1 week. We offered them 1 week, and they said, that you have to stop the fighting even before we negotiate. And we said, no way, which is precisely what we should say. We should say no way. And it's an indicative, I think, that Sinwar is saying that they want us to stop the fighting I think, is a sign that he's kind of almost ready to say uncle. Let's hope they do. We'll do. You want a last word about Hotel California?
Yes.
We talked about Hotel California. I said my fear is that you get into a diplomatic process about 1701, UN Resolution 1701, and the Gaza border, with the United States trying to avoid us opening a second front. It's very difficult to get out of that diplomatic process once you start it. And you know how it's going to end up. You're going to end up with Hezbollah signing something. Oh, we'll go north of Litani, and you turn around 6 months later, and they're going to be back. Okay, and we will not have mobilized our troops, and we're going to be back in the exact same place we were. That's my fear.
Michael, you have mobilized almost 500,000 troops.
Right.
They have to be used or they have to go back to work. Is it better, in the opinion of Ambassador Michael Oren, to use them now and get Hezbollah destroyed back to the river and get those rockets destroyed back to the river, or to demobilize and remobilize whenever Iran pulls the string again?
On or around October 12th, I wrote an article in the Israeli press. It's translated in English on the Clarity Substack. It's called If Not Now. And I said, let's freeze the situation in Gaza because Hamas is not going anywhere. We can keep hitting them from the air and the sea and the ground, keep the pressure up, and let's focus all of our military might on Hezbollah, which is roughly 15 times the threat that Hamas is, many times the more rockets, more accurate rockets, heavier rockets, and 100,000 terrorists who have spent the last decade massacring Syrians and will do even worse to us. And I said, when do we have an opportunity like this, where we have the 500,000 soldiers mobilized, where we have these aircraft carriers there? Let's take advantage of it. And I took a lot of heat in the Israeli press for this, you should know. But it turns out that the defense minister, Gallant, and the defense industry, the whole defense community here was in favor of it. And Netanyahu turned it down, apparently under a lot of pressure from the Biden administration. And that's why I'm afraid I understand why the administration does not want a war in the Middle East that the United States could get dragged into. We don't want one either. But at the end of the day, we have to, I think, preserve and pursue our sovereign interest, which is to get rid of Hezbollah the way we're going to get rid of Hamas. We really have no.
I honestly do not know how you do not do it when you're this fully mobilized. And if the Houthis hit an American ship, won't all the rockets go up? At that point, it will be impossible for the Americans to deny that we're in a war.
I don't know. They seem to be very good at denying it so far. They've been hit again and again in their bases in Iraq and Syria. Never underestimate the power of positive denial. But it depends on what that rocket that hits the destroyer does. I hope it doesn't hit the destroyer. I hope it doesn't hurt any American service people. But I see this as it is something that definitely could happen. I've estimated that could happen at any given day, even as we're talking now. That drone or that missile could be the air. It could change things. And the big question is, does your country have the will and the maneuverability? It certainly has the ability, right, to respond. And that begins by calling out Iran for what it is.
My last question, Michael. The Israeli Defense Air Force has not, in my reading, lost one airplane. I believe they have the capacity to crush Hezbollah, though missiles will go off. Am I correct that not one airplane has gone down?
Not one airplane has gone down.
So the punch.
Some of the villages. But we see now, listen, we've dropped more tonnage on Gaza, probably than the United States bombed in all Afghanistan in the last 2 months. And you see, they're still firing rockets because the rocket launchers are hidden within mosques, they're hidden within schools, they're underground. They all of a sudden, the top goes off and they fire. And that's what's going to be like in southern Lebanon as well. And we have to be prepared for it.
And that means the Israeli Defense Forces, all of them go in. Ambassador Michael Oren, follow him on X at Dr. Michael Oren. I will talk to you next week. I hope you stay safe and get out of your bomb shelter, though it's the nicest bomb shelter I've ever seen. I know you'd rather still be upstairs. So good luck to you and stay safe. Thank you, Dr. Michael Oren.